And we are back with Chad and Trisha for our post-game show of our second scenario in our Conan campaign. What was the name of that scenario again, just for our listeners, one more time?
Bridge of Death.
Bridge of Death. It was a very interesting scenario this time, very different than our first one.
Yes.
I just want to make very clear that we in no way own a Conan. We are simply doing a battle report for Monolith Games. So I'm going to start off actually with Chad this time. Chad, why don't you talk to me about just some observations about the game?
Just like our first mission, this halberd is absolutely a business maker end for sure. Basically, you get to just trade out efficiency of 1 dice attacks to get a whole bunch of dice. And I think just like last time, I think we just one-shotted virtually every character that whoever owns the halberd just kind of makes mincemeat of a lot of the Overlord minions. Got to play with magic this time and see a lot of it actually, so that was cool that you just have spells that go off and it's a pretty plug and play way to do it.
Yeah, you used a good amount of magic this game.
Yeah, I think every time that Peleus activated, he cast at least the archer spell, and then in fact that one turn when he did double explosive orbs, he had a pretty lucrative turn for sure. And it was cool. I got a little puppy dog to be akin to kind of like what the Overlord has, even though he didn't last long in this world. But yeah, it was just it was cool to try to get across and to rely on big old Thack again.
All right, why don't you talk about our two new characters in this one?
Yeah, the archer and at least for me, the mage. The mage seemed sweet. I didn't, it was just kind of the way that the dice went. I didn't have to do a whole lot of healing, so that kind of just worked. The teleport was sweet, that he can move around quite a bit. And then, of course, the archer spell, so he kind of just buffed up and then threw a bunch of orbs, which is cool. The archer was pretty slick, it seemed. I think I got pretty above average rolls to have him just loose arrows time and time again, but it was nice to have some fire support. And then Thack is Thack, so he is
Thack.
Yeah, he is a machine.
Yeah,
so
well, let's turn to Trisha for a sec. So why don't you tell us about this scenario in your Overlord? Was there any differences from the last time that you got to experience?
Yeah. Well, this one is more of, there was definitely an objective difference, I guess. I feel like the other one, it was kind of chasing it around. This one I had to really stop the heroes, and the heroes are pissed. So they know how to deal some damage, and so it was a constant battle of conservation, bringing back my warriors to hopefully be able to stop them from escaping, especially with the artifact, which definitely was a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now I did notice that you had a good amount of magic in this game. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about how that influenced the game? That was really different than last time.
Yeah, so two characters had spells. Now the spells cost a lot, so just like a hero, you have to spend the gems, but because it's a shared pool, it very quickly eats up the resources. So I had to be very strategic in that. But that stone skin, and I think which gave the armor to the troll, the dark demon, that really gave a nice buff. But I think what it did is it did stop the heroes on a round.
Mhm.
That said, they got opportunity to recharge and come in. But I did some stone skin and then Tears of Dagon, which created a space of instability, which made it trickier for them to move. Unfortunately, wasn't quite enough.
Yeah,
So,
I thought when you had cast that earthquake spell, Chad, I thought you were in a little bit of trouble there. Why don't you talk about that just for a
yeah,
second?
it was awkward because it's interesting to play a game of this system because knowing the initiative, I'm calling it the initiative track for lack of a better word. But it was interesting of being able to have her alternate between a zone area, because again, it's very linear on where I have to go. If she can alternate turns between putting a area down where I'll take damage, or that I at least have to defend against potentially, in tandem with buffing the armor. And again, especially when this model, the troll guy, was active. The dichotomy between the two mages was a bit interesting to try to balance with the initiative. So yeah, it was just like any game with dice or just games in general of just trying to figure out when the best time to move and whatnot. But yeah, that was spicy to have to think about for sure.
Okay. Now, this is going to be directed at both of you. So we've had two very different scenarios, two very different objectives, two very different concepts of play. Do you see any differences between how the characters play, or any differences in the scenario play on how you have to adapt? I think our viewers would like to hear just some of the differences you're seeing.
You want to kick that off? Do you want me to?
I will let you go. Yes.
It's interesting because, again, I had Thack last round, and my other two are new, and then I got a accompanying accoutrement of a pooch. It was interesting to... Thack seems pissed. There's no other way to really put that. He seems really, really mad, and a bruisery character. It's interesting with how front-loaded Thack is, but Balthus the archer was still able to be exceptionally effective. If I'm not mistaken, he himself got rid of 2 barricades and then a host of warriors, and being able to do damage on the mages. That was pretty nuts. And then my kind of backup singer, the mage, he was pretty sweet too, though. He got to use those orbs and that magic to help push things in my category. It'll be interesting to see as we go here, to see what happens when I inevitably lose Thack. I think that's personally my biggest question right now, is what happens when I don't have this. Will I gain Conan? Will I gain I think the previous character we had was Nagora, or whatever that guy's name was. It'll be interesting to see on what happens if I don't get front-loaded of damage. Hootaroos. If I don't get front-loaded for damage or a bruiser character, what will that look like? Because 2 games in a row, I've basically been able to really leverage on the destructibility and the tankiness of Thack. So that's personally what I'm looking at, is to see what that looks like.
Very nice. Any changes in the Overlord, Trish? Any differences you're seeing there?
Well, I mean, I had 2 of the same type of guys from the last scenario. So just a refresh, it was the Blasphemers from the past. So it was very much a battle of who can kill guys faster and end with the most points. And so it was just do as much damage as possible, where this one, do damage, but trying to stop the strategy of the other person. Or overcome their strategy. I think that the Dark Demon, again, ranks high. I think last time I said the Dark Demon was my MVP because he held his own and he did it again. But I think that adding the casters into the mix made things a little bit different. Spicy, I guess, would be a good way to declare it, Chad term for us. But spells make things trickier, I think, for the Overlord as well, because it very quickly eats up
for sure
gems, which then stops defense. It just adds a different element that makes it, I think, trickier to play effectively and well.
Yeah, it was very interesting that the Overlord this time seemed to have more elite troops, more powerful things to call upon, but less resources to do so. So it was a little bit more pick and choose strategically for the Overlord this time than I think last time was. You were spoiled for choice,
Yes.
but it looked like you didn't have quite as much resource. You even started to totally exhausted, if I recall correctly.
Yes,
So,
that is correct.
Sure, I didn't even
now, I do have to ask you both. Do you have? Well, I'll start with you, Chad. Do you have any advice for somebody that is playing this scenario as the heroes? Do you have any ideas on what could help out heroes in the success area?
I really think that even though Thack really moved the mission, truly, I think the linchpin of my force, it felt like, was this archer. I was initially super worried in the beginning when all those guys were surrounding, or potentially had the availability to surround the archer, as he was going to be the only way. I didn't know if we were going to have some sort of Mexican standoff on the bridge, when we had. You mind grab me a barricade real quick? I was nervous that if I ever got into a Mexican standoff situation, if I'd have to sit here and pelt the Dark Demon. I think that was a potential avenue that I could use, because I don't think either of us from our mages had like direct damage, if I'm not mistaken. Did you have like a damaging spell that you could cast? Oh, okay, my bad. Especially though they came on late, and that, in my opinion, they would likely come on this side more often than not. I was wondering if that would have to happen. So I think the archer, in all honesty, with obviously how great Thak is, I think the archer is the piece to defend. I think that gives you options. What if her defense dice went different? What if any myriad of choices, right? But if I had to get slowed down, that the archer would give me the versatility to move past it in case something like that happened. I'm a little, I don't want to say confused about the mage, but after he does these explosive orbs, he only attacks with yellows. In fact, he does basically everything with yellows, so it gets kind of, I think he's kind of like the one shot thing. And he can't teleport with the scepter, which is a bit awkward, but then even though Thak may take damage, I think you virtually have to keep pushing him forward no matter what. To
your battering ram.
Yeah, that you have to kind of, sure, you can sit and heal up or, rest, but then that gives the Overlord time to continually barraging with spells, to continually come in with swarms of dudes. So yeah, I think you have to kind of, in my opinion, I think you have to be pretty aggressive. Yeah.
So Trish, any advice for aspiring overlords here? That looks like a hard fight. Those heroes are really strong.
Yeah. So I would just say making sure that you are putting as much barricades or blockage in place. Maybe I cast the Stone Skin and the Earthquake, Trembling Ground, Unstable Ground. Maybe shouldn't have cast them in the same round, but also making sure that you have the ability, because you only have 10, and then when you have guys gone, or 10 gems, and when you have guys gone, you need to dredge that river. So I would just be conscious of how much you're spending for spells, because they can get expensive, up to 3 per spell. So I would say management of resources and finding that strategy of how to distract the heroes so that they can't get to their locations. So
very good. Now I'll start with you, Chad, on this one. Do you have an MVP, and why?
That's torn a bit. Again, you can't stress enough about how absolutely domineering Thak is. There's no question to it. I think in this specific way that the game went, I'd have to say Thak. But I think the reason why I got to leverage Thak anywhere near as strong as he was literally, I can't speak enough volumes about this archer. If the dog would have lived, the interestingness to see what kind of shenanigans for me to block movement against the warriors here, being able to get pretty dang reliable shots down range to clear the way. I think I have to give at least a nod, but I could very well see if other people play this round, or excuse me, this mission, that they could see potentially giving their MVP to the mage as well. Or not the mage, the archer, excuse me. But Thak wins it at least for this time.
Yeah. Trish, do you have a tile that you would say was your MVP?
That's hard. I'm kind of debating here. I think because obviously my small guys help swarm and distract, and those casters definitely put roadblocks in the way. But I kind of lean towards the Dark Demon again, because he's pissed.
The camera, I think the camera for both of our strategies puts him in the spotlight, where like what happens when if and when I don't take him out in a turn and he just gets free reign to make an attack.
the door kind of opens and closes on that guy and what he does in the game.
Well,
it
and
seems.
you can't move past him, and he doesn't allow you rerolls, so you gotta.
Yeah, that was spicy.
He can eat up your resources quickly, so I feel like he's just a very powerful. But I can't negate the rest of them on the track. I feel like my other, even the small guys, they really honestly played their role very well, and distracted.
Yeah.
But Dark Demon, the Troll Master, whatever he's called, nickname, he's my MVP.
Okay. Well, thank you both. And also, what is our next scenario, Trish? Do you want to at least let us know what that is?
Yeah, so Grudges and Secrets.
Right.
And since the heroes won, there is nothing that carries over to the next scenario.
What are our heroes in that one, out of curiosity? Do we have the same guys?
Ooh. Conan, Balit, Nagora, and Shavatus.
Okay, so some familiar friends and some that next one sounds like a very interesting scenario. We're almost getting to the halfway marker pretty soon. Well, actually we're at a quarter right now, but we'll be working our way up to our campaign. But folks, before we go, we actually just wanted to show you our game collection here. We want to say at the Board Gamers, we are committed to high quality content, and we would really value being able to show you what it is that we have. Our goal for this, and Chad's going to help walk us through this, is we want to give you content that you want to see. So we've had so much fun showing you Conan, but we have a lot of other games that we would like to record and show. So Chad, would you take us through?
Yeah, absolutely. So before I forget, of course, my in frame, hopefully. Cool. So first and foremost, again, like and subscribe. We love playing games. This is a passion of all of ours. We got quite a collection, and we're doing what we can to paint up a lot of the figures from every game. That's our goal, is to get everything painted for all y'all. But there is a myriad of things to choose from. I don't know what we can do for namesake in this video, but you can
We do not own any of the products or properties right here. So we're going to just let you know before Chad names off anything that we are not the owners or have any rights to any of the games listed.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of people that love playing games, throwing dice, and having a good time. So, again, I guess we'll just kind of name drop here. We got Chronicles of Drunagor, which is kind of like a pen and paper D&D game made manifest into a board game. We got Batman, which that should make somewhat of a kind of a flair for y'all for memorization, because it's actually the precursor of Conan. Is that a correct statement?
Yes.
Okay. So if you guys like Conan, this is a pretty useful litmus test, because Batman has the same idea. You have a set of heroes with virtually the same kind of things that you're doing for squares, and there's this quote-unquote initiative track and a, like, if it's not called an overlord, it's called something else. But with all the iconic villains of Batman and iconic allies of Batman as well. I think that's actually all Batman down there.
Yep.
We got a lot of Batman, folks.
So the good news is I know there's several of other of us. We're a fairly decent sized group that is looking to get bigger, but we have a lot of support for this style of game and Batman in general. And then it wouldn't be a nerd group if we didn't have some Marvel in here. There's a whole bunch of it. Marvel Champions, Marvel United. We have we have a tabletop game of Crisis Protocol. Yes, Ari, your butt's in the way. There you go. Crisis Protocol down here. Here you go. So yeah, a bunch of Marvel. Descent, God Tier. Mysterium, Everdell, which I don't know what this Everdell is about, but I'm looking forward to try it at some point. Blood Rage, which is a crazy kind of Vikingish game. Nemesis, which is basically the Aliens franchise in outer space, and you control characters and whatnot. Of course, we play Warhammer. You guys can probably see down there, you eagle-eye viewers. Look forward to Gothic in the future, okay? Here's our Mighty Conan, which there's a whole bunch of it. And the stuff from the very first mission that we didn't actually air, so hopefully we'll get to do that again at some point. Gloomhaven, which is almost like a mutant version of like an RPG, but done with cards very spicily. So look forward to that in the future as well, hopefully. And then I'll move on this side. We got Bloodborne, which is like, I'm calling it Diablo or like Hellgate London made into a board game. Pretty slick. It has a really weird fog of war system in the game where you make your own scenario and table. So it's different every time. That was excellent. Look forward to that in the future. And I actually don't know what Madara is.
It's kind of another advanced role-playing game.
Okay, so another...
Kind of Final Fantasy-esque, actually.
We came back, I don't know about y'all, most of us are in our mid-30s, when we have some younger 31s that just arrived, but we have a lot of our roots in RPGs and things of that nature, so there's going to be a whole bunch of that stuff. And then again, more eagle-eyed viewers, you guys will see there's more... I'll say G-Dub products. I don't know what we can, if we can name drop companies, because there's the Cursed City down there. And then Super Fantasy Brawl is a really spicy, hexagonal moving, kind of strategic board game of trying to map own and things of that, with a bunch of different iconic, like, fantastical heroes and whatnot. And then there's more Gloomhaven down here if you are ever going to turn there.
Yeah, quite a stack of Gloomhaven.
Yeah, so most of the games that we have, here's the cool thing about this. Most of the games that are here, that especially that I name dropped, not only do we have some things of them, as a matter of fact, damn near there's everything for that game. So we can do it to the nines, to whatever capabilities and functionaries that we can. So yeah, there's a bunch of games to play. In fact, most of us are also bridging our games together, and we're going to be hopefully ravenously painting that stuff up. So especially after January 1 of this coming year, we're hoping to have a myriad of options, several games that we can try and make playlists for and all that. So I feel like I'm getting a little long on this, but long story short, lots of games. And lots of games to play.
So drop down in the comments below. Please make a comment. Let us know what you want to see more of. We're happy to show you anything. And once again, we are doing this to give you high quality content. And we're going to be furiously painting, are we not?
Yes.
All right. So thank you, everybody.
Paint up your minis.
We are the Board Gamers, and we will be back with more content.